He's a little orange. He's got a nice
We're
boy's
good.
haircut.
He's always
Am I
there.
orange?
Happy.
There's a
We're happy.
tanning machine just blasting him right now.
Yeah, we're happy.
Oh,
yeah.
and you got now. See, he's all insecure now. Look what you did now. He's blocking his whole view now.
Yeah,
I'm trying to wipe the screen.
Jimmy-
Nick's always on me about the blurriness.
Jimmy's Trump tan going. We're live with the Garden Report.
Naturally.
Trump
It's all
10.
natural.
Officially, we believe
We got big news.
NBA season's underway. We had a lot of off-season additions to the Garden Report. A ton of stuff went down, obviously, and there's still a ton of things going on with the Celtics. But the season kind of sort of began, and it's on. I mean, they've announced the upcoming opponents. We'll talk about that a little bit. Training camp, so to speak, a really, really short one. The team's reporting, they're practicing. We've got massive Celtics news. Media day, we've heard from a bunch of players. We've heard from Danny Ainge. We've heard from Brad Stevens. We are, however, going to begin with some breaking news. First, I want to tell people about our sponsor, Manscaped, 20% off free shipping with the code GARDEN20 at manscaped.com. 20% off free shipping with the code GARDEN20 at manscaped.com. Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavone, Bobby Manning, and a little bit of breaking news. We'll just hit it right off the top. John Wall for Russell Westbrook. Blockbuster trade right out of the gate. Initial
Crazy.
reactions on this before we get to the Celtics.
Go.
Nothing, guys. You guys had nothing about this one?
Hey,
We were
we want to
talking
give
about
you the lead off. You were
Josue,
loving
you
it.
go.
Oh man, I love this trade. I love this big time because I want to see how John Wall can do in a new setting, and I also, of course, want to see if Russell Westbrook can actually put it together. Of course, last season was, I'm not going to call it a flat-out disaster, but let's call it what it was. It was a flat-out disaster. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, Houston, they needed a change, and I think it was going to be really difficult for them, or at least I thought it was going to be difficult for them to find another team to take on Westbrook, at least this early. They found the Washington Wizards. I guess we should have seen this one coming, so to speak. But at the same time, if you're the Wizards, if you're the Rockets, John Wall, James Harden, can this happen? Are we going to see a replica of what we saw this past season, or are they going to be able to put it together? I don't know. What do you guys think? I love it. I like their chances.
So I'm weary of the Rockets going into this season trying to go for it, because what are you going for? The 8th seed? I get you don't have your first round pick for a bunch of years now because of this disastrous Westbrook trade. Going to go down as one of the worst trades of all time, acquiring him for a bevy of first. I don't know what they're going for here. It's either them or the Warriors as the 8th seed, I guess, at the bottom of that conference. I say you just dump off all this talent. You don't want to just dump Harden. That you got to get the right trade for him, certainly. But getting Westbrook off like this and acquiring another first, they got 2 firsts from Portland for Robert Covington. They're off to a good start. They got Christian Wood, who's a great young player. DeMarcus Cousins is going to try to rebrand himself there. So I guess they start this season, try to get something from Wall, try to get something from Cousins, let Harden do his thing, and they'll be exciting again until they find that right trade for Harden. There's no rush on that.
What's Wall's injury status right now?
So he missed a year and a half with the
but right
Achilles.
now, is he expected?
He's ready to go. Yep, he started training camp for the Wizards yesterday.
Despite the bad player, I prefer Wall over Westbrook 10-1 here. I again, you don't know if he's a diminished version of himself, and he's got issues as well. I'm just so down on Westbrook. I have been for years. I just think he's a detriment to your team. It becomes the Russell Westbrook show. He only knows how to play one way. He's not good enough at other things to be a complementary player. He can't just spot up and shoot or do whatever. He has to have the ball. He has to attack. He has to take bad shots because that's the only way he knows how to play. I don't know what he does for any team. I think this is a kind of you take my star, I take your star. We'll see if the new scenery makes it better for both parties, but shoulder shrug, I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, Rockets got a first-round pick out of it. Whether or not it's going to be worth much, who knows? But, I mean, watching Russell Westbrook in the bubble, in the playoffs, I mean, if you guys watched that game, and I'm sure you did because we were all watching every bubble game, I mean, he was way out of sorts. I mean, I couldn't believe this guy was like the biggest liability on the court, turning the ball over left and right, couldn't even hit a free throw when it mattered. And it was just so obvious that he was overthinking or just wasn't comfortable out there. I don't know exactly why. So I wasn't surprised to see that he wanted a change of scenery. Too bad the way things kind of ended up for John Wall in Washington. It seemed like, obviously he had such a promising start to his career, and then injuries kind of took over. And I guess the tenure, his tenure there will probably be, seen as, what could have been sort of thing, because
Yeah, it was his team. Now it's Bradley Beal's,
Yeah, I mean, by default, I think Bradley Beal just took it over. I think that was easy because John Wall just couldn't stay on the court. So I'm pumped to see John Wall play again. I hope that he's healthy. I hope that he can, form a good, if Harden stays with the team, hopefully, they could form a nice 1-2 punch there. But yeah, the Rockets will be fun to watch to an extent, but they're the Rockets. They're destined to lose, in the playoffs like they always do. It doesn't really matter who they trade for. It's just how it's going to be.
You just want to tackle him when he's on the court. He's impossible to watch. Anyway, we're just hit this because it's breaking news. It's not our intention to talk about it. We have a ton of stuff to talk about, Celtics related. I guess it's a coin flip to me between continuing to break down the Hayward situation or Kemba. Kemba's real. The Hayward situation continues to be intriguing to me, and obviously
we're done with Hayward. He's in Charlotte.
We're not done. There's a little bit of new news with the Hayward stuff.
Not only are we not done, I'd be stunned if we don't spend the majority of the program on it. But
yeah, right. Says the guy who's going to be saying the most Hayward stuff at some point in this show. It will come back to Hayward. It always does.
Let's get into Kemba. We've got
Kemba's more newsy, so we'll get into Kemba.
I don't know how to. So I don't know what the vibe is out there with people. I don't want to be an alarmist or Mr. WebMD Google, WebMD doc at home, but
you'll try.
Kemba spoke today, and he's amazingly sunny and positive about everything. And he just talked about it it's a setback. Brad said the same thing. It's just strengthening. If the season was starting in January, we'd be fine. You guys might not even know about this. No big deal. That's not how I see this. We've got a guy who, once again, after a 4-month window in the bubble, before the bubble started, had issues as soon as he started playing basketball again. Now here we are as training camp's about to begin, and it's, he's not even close to playing basketball again. The knee is obviously a real issue. Brad Stevens said it on one of our podcasts on CLNS Media last week. He's not going to be ready. That was kind of a little precursor to this. Yeah. 12 weeks stem cell injection in the knee. Almost every kind of Twitter doctor out there, and Jess D, I talked to Doc Jess Flynn from Boston Sports Journal. She said the same thing. She's been saying it forever. This is an arthritic condition more likely than not. This stuff doesn't necessarily get better. You may be able to kind of fight it off a little bit, but my fear here is there's no guarantee this gets better ever. It might be, okay. Best case scenario, I think, is management over a period of time with him missing some games, minutes restrictions, X, Y, and Z, and you hope you get through a season, but he might have to sit a whole bunch of games. Worst case is he comes back and it's it still sucks. It hurts like hell. I can't play. That's bad. The most telling comment Danny Ainge had in the whole thing, guys, was asked about whether this is a long-term concern. He said, this year is going to determine a lot of that. That's terrifying from Danny Ainge, who's normally going to say, it's totally nothing, rub some dirt on it, he'll be back out there in 2 weeks. So around the horn, Josue, your thoughts here, just on hearing the news and your level of concern with Kemba.
No, you just nailed it with the Danny Ainge quote, because I thought that stood out as well, because I think it's really telling. I think it was really honest of Danny to say, let's face it, it's not going to get any better. That's exactly what this injection is. It's to boil it down, it's how is Kemba going to live with this now? How can you manage this pain? Can you, are you as mobile as you were throughout the postseason? If so, that's going to be a bad thing. As he said, he didn't feel good in the postseason. He doesn't want to feel like that again. He doesn't want to be able to or have to play with that level of pain. So I think that's what this shot is necessarily is. Can Kemba live with this? How can he manage this pain? The next 8 to 12 weeks, I think, is going to be, that's the goal. How can Kemba be most comfortable with this pain? And then let's just shoot for it through the end of the season, go through the postseason, and let's stretch it out. But at the same time, though, a limited Kemba. I don't think you see a full-strength Kemba out there. Second night of back-to-backs, those type of stretches, forget it. That's out of the question for the Celtics team. This team is going for it. They're still going for it. If they weren't going for it, Kemba Walker would have been going through surgery, or they would have been taking another road, another step here. They're going for it here, guys.
Well,
I think a lot of this has to do also with how he's going to respond and how the team's going to look like without him. How strong can this team be? That first month of the season without Kemba Walker.
They can be solid. They can be solid without him. They've done it before. They plug in pieces.
I don't want to get into that yet because we're going to get into that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But
if I start talking about friggin' who's backing them up right now, I'm going to get too depressed to finish the hour.
What stuck out to me today?
Let's save that for the end.
Let me ask you, Bobby, just because you were on the chat today, what did you get off of it? Did you feel any better listening to him talking today?
Yeah, the key thing for me is he's going to take his time.
Of course you did.
I remember in the bubble.
Unbelievable.
He was it's a totally different Kemba yesterday. Sure, there was cheery optimism, as you say, John, but the biggest difference I saw between the bubble and today, he is going to take his time. He's not pushing to get back. He said he's excited to relax, take it easy, and
that's what the break was before the bubble, by the way. But okay.
Well, I'm just saying, when he gets back from the bubble,
that's
he's like,
what that was for, and it didn't work.
It was
4 months.
Yeah, did you forget the months that we had between games?
4 months.
Well, it's pretty clear that he was doing something during that time that must have aggravated it, got it flaring up again, some amount of training.
No, but
and this is what
helped him.
This is what I'm talking about. He was pushing to get back when the bubble comes up, and then they're taking him out of playoff games, trying to minimize those minutes, and he looked frustrated. Now he's willing to take the time. He's willing to do what it takes to get back out there.
Okay.
I thought there was some level of frustration in the bubble over the summer. Go ahead.
Okay, so everything is awesome, and Bobby's pumped.
I'm just saying he's buying into the approach now.
Yeah, Bobby's pumped because Kemba Walker's gonna take his time, and he's gonna slowly come back. And we're gonna be talking about when's Kemba Walker gonna be play for the Celtics. It's gonna be February. We're still gonna be talking about it. This is what the Celtics do with injuries. They kind of string you along. They don't kind of tell you exactly what's going on. You can.
Well, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Did it work or not in the bubble? Did the plan work or not?
No, it didn't work.
It worked. He was back to playing at a good level in the postseason.
Bobby, are you serious right now? I mean,
after he was scoring 20 points, he killed Philly, had a good series against Toronto overall. It tapered out at the end, but they got him back to playing at a high level.
People were dogging him against the Raptors, and people were dogging him against against the Heat. He had a good series against.
We're overstating how good he was in the playoffs in the bubble. I think he was fine, and then he was.
He was fine, we
and
all
then it was
said
not so good. Yeah,
we all said it doesn't look like Kemba out there. Something
even when he was efficient, he was 1-on, 1-off. He had a game where he took 7 shots. He wasn't even getting involved, and then another where that series he played well. He was 1-on, 1-off. It wasn't consistent there, and then he was just. His efficiency went out the window. He couldn't do anything he normally does.
Yeah. And that's exactly what they leaned on, especially in the fourth quarter. We'll get more into this later because I know we're going to talk about how this team is going to, try to survive without him. But that's a huge loss, and I think that's when his play was most magnified throughout the postseason. Was in the fourth quarter when they really needed those buckets. He wasn't there. It was a couple of turnovers. Defensively, he just wasn't himself.
And I'm not knocking him for the effort, and I give him all the credit in the world for wanting to play and coming back when he did. But I think the Celtics have said it, and he pretty much said it. He wasn't himself. They may have screwed up by rushing him back. So yeah, of course they're gonna go slowly here. But when you're talking about degenerative knee issue or whatever it is that's going on, it's not there's no way to paint this as a good thing. It's not a good thing.
No, there's no way. I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I'm saying getting stem cell treatment. There's not a it's a relatively.
That's a Hail Mary. That's a Hail Mary.
It's relatively new in the grand scheme.
And it's not
modern day.
Definitively something that works.
No, it's something that can certainly alleviate pain over time. But we're talking about your average Joe, I think, for the most part. I mean, Joe the plumber, gets a needle in his knee or whatever. He's not playing basketball 100 miles an hour against the best players in the world. That pain could probably come back a lot sooner for a guy like Kemba Walker to stay at the top level. So it's a little troubling for me to hear that. Now, I'm not going to say it's not going to work. What the hell do I know? It might work. It might make his knee less painful enough where he can be 90% 95%, the way he was. And that's great. It's not something that you needed to work for the next 20 years. You needed to work for the next handful of years for him to finish out his career at a high level. So maybe in that sense it works, but it is troubling because you see Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. He had the stem cell. I think I saw Pau Gasol had the stem cell. There's been other athletes in pro sports. I know A-Rod did it. These guys are going to Germany for this stuff. So I don't even know how intense his is compared to those, but I know that there is a long process before you start to feel the pain. And, hopefully it does work because the Celtics are clearly going to need this guy.
Well, let's be clear. I do think, I don't know. And again, that's why I don't want to be alarmist and gloom and doom with it. But I'm surprised the amount of people are like, oh, it's just January. That's not what they said.
No,
that's not what they said.
They're going to give us an update.
They said in January they will assess his situation. That means nothing. There is no, in a perfect world, by January he starts to do basketball related activities, ramps it up, and comes back. Are you
guys truly worried about the team without him in January though? I mean, let this run till March.
No, what I'm saying is you get to January, it's not how long they're without him. When you get to January, what I'm saying is nothing is certain here. When you get to January, you might discover that things are not well.
Kemba Walker.
Then it's what the hell is plan B? And apparently the Celtics are all about plan Bs this year. You're stuck in that spot, which is like, oh crap, now what? So like I said, this is a bit of a Hail Mary. It may work, it may not. It may do just enough to get him through this year, and then you kind of start the process over and see what happens beyond that. It may not be good at all. We don't know.
Now, if I'm Brad Stevens, I'm going into the season as if Kemba Walker's out for the entire year. I mean, that has to be your approach. That has to be the mentality for this team, because if you're leaning on a comeback from Kemba, that's a really risky place to be, especially with these young guys. We all know, we talked about it over and over last year. The youngest team, one of the top teams out there, one of the youngest, just got a bit younger with all these guys that came on board. Gordon Hayward, a veteran that's off the books, off the team,
we don't talk
replaced by a couple of, or at least 3 brand new rookies. So this team just gets really younger, and they have to figure this out. They have to figure out how they make up for that production. Again, I talked about fourth quarter production. That's going to be a void that they need to fill. Floor general, for the people who aren't crazy about Marcus Smart's going to have to take on that new role again that we saw throughout the postseason. And between him, Jalen, and Tatum, there's a whole lot of getting used to that they need to figure out. I think that's really most important for this team heading into the season.
How did this happen?
I know, right? I know.
But beyond that, I don't want to be why didn't Danny know? But how does a guy come here and within a few months he has a degenerative knee problem?
He had 3 knee surgeries in Charlotte. So
I know, but it's
was on the books.
Did they skip the medicals? You know what I mean? Is
I don't know,
you have an all-star.
I feel like it's one of those things where you have a car.
I know he had surgery.
It's fine. You put a bunch of miles on it. All of a sudden, one thing leads to another. That's sort of what happened here. Kemba, of course, didn't have a lot of deep playoff runs with the Charlotte Hornets. He played a lot of games. He rarely missed games. He was an Iron Man.
He said that today too. Yeah.
As an undersized guard who's in his 30s or now approaching his 30s or into his 30s. There's a lot of miles on those.
He did a lot last year too. When you think about it, he had Team USA. He had the entire regular season.
He played 72 minutes in the All-Star game.
Like he said, since he signed, he hasn't taken a break.
Yeah. So that's another fact you have to consider.
Except for, the whole 4 months break that we had. Everyone.
He needed that.
Well, you got to consider too, Jimmy. They didn't have 4 access to him for the rehab stuff too.
Listen, I'm glad that he's going to be in rehab, at least with the Celtics trainers and doctors and that whole thing, because I don't know what the hell happened.
We'll never know.
In the bubble, I don't know. It was like the wild west. Everyone was just doing their own. These guys never worked out on their own before, I guess. I don't know. But
I was hoping Grant would shed some light on that in the interview we had with him, but he didn't get into it. So we'll never know what happened there in Charlotte over that break there.
I'm did something to aggravate it there. Those guys are just hanging around.
No, I'm not saying he hurt himself or aggravated it, but if you're not doing something to help it, as they are now, then you're kind of just in the same place you were in February, if you know what I mean. There had to be a plan. There had to be a program. Once they got back to Boston and then got into the bubble, they put him on a plan that actually seemed to work. And again, I'm not saying it's a good thing he has a knee condition. I'm not saying he can get back to being our all-star form. What I'm saying is you live with it now. You have to get on to something else and try to get the best Kemba that you can at this point. And if you get something similar to what he played at his highest level in the playoffs, it still looks like an extremely helpful player. Now you're going to get into, is he worth $30 million? Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. He's here. You'd rather have him than not. And even if you did trade him,
I'd rather have him on the court.
Yeah, as you propose,
we're really lowering our expectations.
Seriously,
like,
that's what you do. I mean, it's we talked about this the other day.
I
John.
know,
this
but
isn't going
Bobby,
away.
man, you went from. We went from 2 seasons ago having so much talent, you didn't know what to do with this team.
Oh my God, Mister, one step back.
To now we're talking. You're not supposed to take steps back. By
you
losing
wanted to
players.
step back. You wanted to trade Hayward, trade Kemba.
No,
and
I
take
wanted to
one
trade
step back
Kemba.
and 2 steps forward.
I wanted to trade Kemba.
You don't just trade Kemba for nothing, though. If you were going to trade,
I was in on the holiday deal before this news. That's my step. Let's reassess here. Let's rebuild on the fly. Get rid of the stuff that's not going to work for you. Like Kemba might not work for you now. We're not in it for he'll be fine. This was supposed to be a star. You paid him a star contract. This is going to be the 3rd guy you've given huge bucks to come here and underperform their contract, okay? And Al was fine. We can debate whether he's worth the money or not. I'm actually more an Al fan than not. But statistically, you got what you got off of him. Gordon Hayward was a bust. Capital B, and we're not going to get into that later.
Don't tell it to Bob.
Now you've got reduced expectations from year 2 of a 4-year deal with Kemba. That's terrible, Bobby.
They got a great first season out of him.
Oh,
now we'll see what he gets out of his second. He was an all-star.
He fell apart in the first season.
And you got a great last season from Gordon, right?
He fell apart pretty badly at the end there, for sure. But up until the middle portion of that second round.
Kemba pulls it together and then exercises his player option and leaves. He's going to spend 2 years getting injections in his knee, and he's going to have a great last 2 months of his 3rd year and then friggin' see ya.
He's going to have the healthiest knees in the NBA just in
30 million.
Agency.
He's going to go get 30 million somewhere else.
Well, it seems now if he gets in the right free agency class, he'll get it even if he has knee issues, the way Hayward went.
I don't know.
This isn't a great situation. I'm just saying they're in a good place to make it work.
Oh, you think?
And we'll get into
You're
that.
in a good place?
They're in a good place to make it work.
Place, Bobby.
No, I'm saying they're in a good place to make it work.
Oh my God. I saw a reputable member of the Celtics media today suggest Jeff Teague and Grant Williams start for this team. What are we doing here? If that's
one of them will have to.
If that's on the table, we're not in a good place, Bobby.
You still have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
But
how many teams in the NBA can say that?
10 minutes
but Bobby,
ago.
come on. Yeah,
Bobby,
I'm with John on this one,
you
Bobby.
also had Gordon Hayward and Kemba Walker.
I've been waving the Jalen and Tatum flag this whole time. I'm with you in that sense. But without Kemba, this is a very different team. And this
is a very slightly above average team.
Things can get dark.
And Celtics fans hate that.
Line in the East. You can go down the line in the
hate
East.
it. Yeah.
And the Celtics are
We're talking about January, guys.
We're talking about January if Kemba comes back and is at least the version we saw in the early parts of the bubble. That is not a certainty.
It's not out of the possibility.
But I know, but right now you've gone from a team that was a win away, of a couple games away from into the finals, even with some injury issues. And now you've just taken away 2 stars. Like, that's bad. It's hard.
Hashtag bad.
And added not added anything to replace those guys. Again, we're talking about you've replaced Cantor with Tristan Thompson. We're not going to talk about Thompson as an upgrade that's going to offset the losses of Hayward and Kemba. If Kemba comes back again and he's close to himself, it's less of an issue. But right now, the unknown is what's scary.
Wait, John, didn't you hear Thompson won the Celtics the offseason? We got to move on from Kemba. We got a lot of other things.
That was plan A, right, guys? That's what the Celtics had all along.
Okay.
If you want to do it, we'll do it. If not, then let's move on.
We'll move on. So, Gordon Hayward, we want to talk about this again. Even though Bobby doesn't. Okay. Over the week, we've had a text.
I'd rather talk about Thompson.
Some things were said. There's nothing. We can't take that back anymore, but it got definitely heated and spirited. and that's that.
Feelings
But
were hurt.
there's been a lot of debate about how the Gordon situation
No
went
hurt
down.
feelings here. You put it pride to the side.
Yeah. So
it sounds like a bumper sticker.
I know. It's the Celtics motto. So basically we've been debating how it went down. I think there's a little bit more clarity after hearing from Danny Ainge, who spoke to the media a couple days ago. Gordon Hayward as well on the same day talked about things. One thing became perfectly clear. Gordon didn't want to be
Hayward
here.
Hates the Celtics.
Gordon Hayward didn't want to be in Boston, and Danny knew it. And no matter what, even though it was, and we were right in saying plan A should have been Hayward, they tried. He wanted nothing to do with it. So then it is what it is. And I think whether it's the city, it seemed to be mainly the fit. He wants to be the man again. Didn't want to be fourth fiddle. That's what happens. You pack a team with too many stars. Somebody's going to get a little, Jesus. It happened to Ray Allen 10 seconds into year one of 2008, but he played his role out. But he definitely didn't love being third fiddle to KG and Pierce. But he went through it, and then he left. I mean, whatever. But
well, he didn't leave like a year later.
No. He did his.
I mean,
he went into it knowing that,
But everybody's got that because you're used to being the man, then you're not the man. And not only was he not the man, he was. Each year he became less and less of the man. Like, now Tatum's good, so you got to take fewer shots. So he left. Where we're back to was he going to wait on Charlotte the whole time, or was there something that could have been done with Indiana? And that's where he would have wanted to go. So I do want to point out a couple of things here. Just the quotes that were out there. One thing that Gordon Hayward said that stuck out to me was just talking about it, this and that. And then he's like, I looked at my agent and I said, let's just do this Charlotte thing. I don't think that was his first choice. I think his first choice was Indiana. I think Indiana really wanted him. Then the question is just going to come down to, did Danny get completely caught off guard by Charlotte coming out of nowhere and not think it was a real threat? Or did he always know it was possible and was willing to let it happen? I still don't really know what the answer to that is. But after listening to these guys talk, what do you guys think?
I think you're onto something there. I mean, the Jordan thing, the phone calls is what gets me. I mean, he says that now there's 2 phone calls, right? Before there was only one. There was the one Friday night or whatever Friday phone call that he received from Jordan where they spoke, 24 hours before he made his decision. What was that first initial phone call like? And if I had to guess, it's about a lot of the conversation that they had 4 years ago when they were trying to get him to leave Utah to come to Charlotte. It happened before. Here we are again. Don't make the same mistake twice. Yada, yada, yada. Something to that effect, right? And I think that was sort of always in his back pocket. Yeah, going back home, playing back in Indianapolis, there was a lot of attraction to that. But I think, to what Danny Ainge said in the press conference, being a featured player, I think that means a lot to him still. I think he still thinks because of what he did this past season, and kudos to him, we've been giving him props, Bobby, the utmost. Reminding us how good he was this year. I think that sparked a huge, motivation, obviously, into Gordon. And then the worst thing that could have happened where in the postseason, we just talked about how Kemba was so banged up. Gordon Hayward, your secondary playmaker, could have came in there, carried that team over. Who knows? Maybe they make it to the NBA Finals if he's completely healthy. Maybe, him with the 80%, 70% Kemba Walker gets you there. We'll never know. But I think that was the devastating blow to Gordon. I think Gordon was so a bit torn. I don't think he knew, I don't think he was dreaming about Charlotte in the postseason. But I do think that he was looking at the postseason as this is my time this is my redemption song. I'm going to go off here. I'm going to carry this in. And 5 minutes into the, similar to his tenure with the Celtics, 5 minutes into the postseason, boom, he's out. And he just wasn't himself. And I think that was the beginning of the end. I mean, the role in Charlotte, I think, is significant. But, Indiana going back home, that's a tough, decision to be in the middle of. But the money spoke volumes. Michael Jordan spoke volumes. Those conversations, they went a long way. And these are conversations that they've had for the past 4 to 5 years. I mean, Gordon he clearly hasn't forgotten that. And I think that was in his back of his mind until he got that phone call and it was official.
I keep going back to those 2 days. And that's what I think it all comes down to is if he was talking with Jordan and Charlotte was always in play and the money was what it was, which it was,
Was it always 120 though? Maybe it wasn't, John. Maybe the second phone call pushed the extra 20 mil.
I don't think
Boom.
there's any. I just don't see it. I think there's no reason to extend. You just walk on Tuesday. You just walk out. There's no reason to extend that window with the Celtics. That was a negotiating window. Obviously, at this point, not for the Celtics to negotiate a deal. Because
you're talking about the. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about when the option, when he extended the deadline. Okay, gotcha.
Kicking that option from the Tuesday to the Thursday to me is again, I'm going to keep coming back to it. Is we've pieced together now that. Okay, we surmised maybe that meant the Celtics were still working on the extension with him, and maybe they'd go up a year. Maybe they were working.
No, it makes no sense that they want to keep him, and they were deep in trade negotiations. No, they knew they couldn't keep him.
They knew they couldn't keep him, which means the only reason to extend there.
Yeah,
both sides agreed on. Both sides agreed on was because they wanted to work the Indiana trade, which meant Gordon wanted to go there, and that was really the best option for the Celtics. That's the only thing that makes sense when you play it all out, because now we've eliminated the possibility of keeping him. It's out the window. He didn't want it. Danny knew it. Nothing you could do. That 2-day window existed only to negotiate a trade. Danny said 4 teams, but it seems like Indiana was the one that he was working closest with. And if Gordon, imagine if it was 4 teams, if Gordon extended that window by 2 days to go to one of 4 teams, that means Charlotte might have been his 5th option when Danny couldn't swing a deal,
well, you have to consider some teams that didn't have cap space too. Like I know Portland had interest in him. They had no way to sign him, not even close. Then Robert Covington falls into place there. Atlanta, as we know, interest there. They moved on to other things. And New York, of course, too, started filling things up. So there were a number of different options here that the Celtics could have played ball with. And you talk about Charlotte, too, being a sign and trade option. They didn't get a ton from them, but they ultimately did get something from them. I think the development you have to consider here, too, because we heard the packages that the Celtics could have got from Indiana, whether it was Victor Oladipo, TJ Warren, as Ainge would have wanted, or just a Turner, McDermott, first-round pick kind of package.
Don't think TJ was in there. I really don't.
No, there's no way they were going to do that. That's what Ainge was pushing for, if you believe the Washburn report. So we get into what happened in LA, and this is what I keep emphasizing, because all along I said Tristan Thompson had no way of going to the Celtics. It was a dream. We talked about it, Jimmy, during our free agent special. We both would have loved Thompson here. I think he was a guy who would have loved to have gone to the Lakers and played center, or the Clippers as they lost Montrezl Harrell there, which was a huge surprise. So that domino falls. The Clippers sign Ibaka for the same deal as Thompson. All of a sudden, the Celtics are in this negotiation with Indiana. They're not getting what they want out of it. They have a chance to sign Thompson if they don't do this Indiana deal. You go do the Thompson deal, because it comes down to Miles Turner versus Tristan Thompson. I think you take Tristan Thompson every time.
That's crazy. Okay, my turn. What I think happened. I think, yes, there was mutual interest between Celtics and Gordon Hayward in getting a deal done to go to the Pacers.
For sure.
The part that we don't know, and we'll never know, probably, is what were the Pacers really offering Gordon Hayward? Maybe that was the holdup. Maybe Gordon Hayward wanted to go to the Pacers more than the Pacers wanted Gordon Hayward, and they were working on maybe trying to get that $100 million offer up to a point where Gordon would accept it. When the Pacers didn't, he said, okay, I'm going to, agent, get it done with Charlotte. And Danny Ainge, of course, it's in Danny Ainge's best interest to extend that deadline if there's a trade involved, because he knows that once Gordon Hayward goes to free agency, he's shit out of luck. Pardon my French. But so, of course, he's going to extend it. Oh, yeah, Gordon, you don't want to come here. That sucks. We'd love to have you back. But if you want to go to Indy, if you want to go to, Team B.
The Celtics had to get it done for him.
Via trade, the Celtics had to get done for him. But the other team has to give Gordon Hayward an offer that he wants. Gordon Hayward has the ability to.
Was it about the money for him?
I don't think so.
I think so. I think it was partly. I mean, he took
a little bit.
120.
It was $30 million.
Yeah, I mean, but
that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan just.
The reason
he came in with another offer.
Because he opted out.
The reason I don't think so is because he can opt out, listen to everybody, and Danny can still say, I don't know. I think that window was there to make a deal because he wanted it to get done, and that was it didn't get done. The question again is, Did Danny overplay it and wait
I
too
don't think
long?
he did.
Hold out for too much? Or
Are we taking his word for it, guys?
Here's my
Are we all taking his
frustration
word for that?
Here's my frustration with that notion. You just do anything with them. Just take whatever Indiana wants to give you. Just take it because it's something. And they ultimately did get something out of it. They get Thompson and they get the exception and they get flexibility.
I believe the exception. I believe Turner and whatever you got back from Indiana will be better than what you get for the exception.
The problem with that,
that's
though,
what I believe.
Bobby,
Okay.
that might turn out to be true. I mean, how can you
so that's
that?
The thing is, that's the math. Not Turner, not Thompson for half the money that Turner would have been. I believe Turner and whatever you get plus that salary that you can kind of hold on to and use as an asset maybe down the road is going to be better than anything they use the TPE on.
Well, they gain something out of it, and they lose something by doing Indiana too. You lose the full mid-level, so you can't sign a full mid-level player there, and you lose flexibility to make a trade, as we say again and again. Why were we even thinking of doing this Indiana trade? To get trade flexibility, to get a player that would be tradable from there. Because if you don't love McDermott, if you don't love Turner, at least they could be trade assets.
What have we learned about players coming to Boston? What have we learned about players coming to Boston? What does Brad Stevens do for them when they leave? He gets them paid.
Fat contracts.
He gets them paid.
Yeah, but then they don't play the same that they, you don't see the same player you saw in Boston though. That's the one thing.
Miles Turner's ceiling
minus Bain.
Miles Turner is an imperfect player, and he might have been shit here. We don't know. His ceiling
wouldn't have been.
His ceiling is
shit in Indy.
10 times higher than Tristan Thompson or I believe most people we might be able to bring in, because realistically, I think that TP is going to be split into two instead of one. And Danny
Ainge pretty much said that. He said, we're going to use it for depth coming off the bench.
So I think
Danny just hated the fact that he had that $19 million price tag on it. I just think he just didn't think he was
that
worth
much money.
I know, I agree, especially in the 3 years.
It brings you into the tax off.
Sure.
17 and a half a year for Miles Turner. 24-year-old, 6'11".
It's through 2023 though.
With a shooting touch.
6'11", can shoot all over the floor. Blocks one year. I'm not saying he's like your defensive player of the year, but he is a presence on the defensive end, and he's developing. I'm not saying his outside shot is there. His 3-point shot certainly isn't there. I think it was like 34% last year or whatnot. But the fact that he even has one and that he can develop one moving forward, that should pique your interest if you're a Celtics fan. So for all the Celtics fans who are just automatically dogging Miles Turner just because the Celtics didn't trade for him,
all we have to go off is what he is now, Jimmy.
Shame on you guys because you're just drinking the green Kool-Aid and you don't have your own freaking personal own thought in your head. Can't you do your own research?
Jimmy, right now, this year
would have actually helped the Celtics be a better team this year. You want to
Let me ask you this, Jimmy.
He doesn't help you. What?
Who's helping you more this year, Tristan Thompson or Miles Turner?
I don't know that you can say definitively.
How do you know the answer to that question?
Because I know Tristan Thompson's a better player right now.
Guys, Thompson is fine. I just don't. Here's the thing.
He's already hit his ceiling, Bobby.
I get that people.
He just had the best year of his career.
I get that people are like, why are you guys talking about Turner so much? And he's the next coming and this and that. Tristan Thompson is more likely than not gonna be like 6 and 6, 6 and 7 here. That's playing 18 to 22 minutes a game.
Well, John, I think it's ridiculous to think that
he's fine. He's fine. He'll help.
I think it's ridiculous to think the Celtics didn't want Miles Turner. Like, let's be honest. Let's not kid ourselves. What do you think? What do you think was the beginning of the conversation when these two teams spoke? I mean, it was about Miles Turner. I think where the talks fell apart were the other pieces. Whether it was McDermott, whether it was 3 players that the Celtics wanted no part of. Danny said, "Look, I'm not taking on these 3 contracts just for one, or the one guy who maybe I'm not." Over the top in love with, but I do think this guy can be a piece in this.
The reason
I don't think you can say that about Turner. Miles Turner will fill a void on this team. I don't think that's up for debate.
He'll do it better.
I would like to believe that if Danny Ainge had the opportunity to make the trade, Turner and McDermott, I don't think McDermott's contract is. First of all, it's not like his albatross contract. Everyone's like McDermott. Oh my God, it's a run. He's in the last year of it's like $7 million deal. Take him and leave him. Whatever. He's in the deal. I would like to believe Danny Ainge would have made that deal, and because if you brought Brad Stevens here to be, the basketball whisperer and develop these guys, and I mean, you saw what he did to Evan Turner, you've seen what he did with some of these other players. You're just gonna say, "Oh, Miles Turner stinks." Look at like this highlight reel of a game where he played poorly in Indiana. You don't see like the potential for a guy like that, then you're not like thinking anything other than like the numbers that you're just looking at
Bobby,
in front of you.
Yeah, Bobby, you forwarded that article around today. In Indiana, they're viewing him as like a big two. You know, like I think like Danny sees a guy like Turner and drools over him. Like
I agree.
This 6'11" guy who can stretch the floor and
he
like
led the league in blocks. Like when has ever had someone like that?
And develop his shot and this and that. I don't know what he turns into, but this is the type of guy that like Danny's falling over himself to get normally. You know, so like. I know he hasn't been everything everybody hoped there. I don't know.
I don't believe that it's an untradeable contract either. He's making $17.5 million for the next few years. He's going to enter. His contract's going to expire in the prime of his career, like years wise. It's going to be like 27. Like you're going to tell me that like teams aren't going to sign this guy? I mean, come on. I mean, I don't believe that one bit. I think the Celtics would have traded for Miles Turner if the opportunity arose. What I think is that maybe Indiana wasn't offering Gordon Hayward as much money as he was looking for.
Yeah. I think Indiana becomes a trade partner because it's a destination Hayward would have approved. It gives you a chance to get something. They could push for more in that scenario, as they obviously did. I don't think it's that they were intrigued by Turner all that much. He was a given, and Indiana's begging to get rid of this guy. That's the other thing you have to consider. They have no interest in keeping him. They've been shopping him everywhere. He still hasn't gotten dealt this offseason, so they're moving forward with him. My point is
Who is this? Turner?
Yes. My point is
that the Pacers are better than the Celtics right now. And that's partially because
I don't think so.
Sabonis, Turner, Warren,
no Kemba,
Brogdon, and
Oladipo. I heard Oladipo.
Okay. They're better
than Oladipo, though. Sorry, you might drop an album.
That's a great lineup. And
we'll see who's available come playoff time if that ended up being a matchup. You know, obviously a depleted Kemba, you'd take the Pacers there. My point is, though, to wrap this up, you get flexibility now. And they would have been hampered for flexibility with Turner in there.
Let's get into it a little bit. Okay.
My question is this. Would you pay the tax for Miles Turner? Because that's what it comes down to. Does he had that much that you pay the tax from?
John, don't talk to John about taxes. He thinks
I'm not saying Wick. I'm not saying that from Wick's hurting money, but it's flexibility. You can't use a mid-level.
You can't use the mid-level when you can't do. You get penalized. Let's get into the trade exception here, because this is where I think I'm not going to say confused, but this is where everybody wanted this thing to happen, because
this will be what decides this debate.
But here's the thing. Right, it's less about that. I think everyone's like, oh, we got a trade exception. That means we're going to go get a star for all of this money.
Harden. Yeah.
And that's not what it means. It means realistically, you're going to dump something. And again, it's a $27 million trade exception, but Bobby, I think we can only use 21 or so million to stay under the tax. So you're looking at
it's 1920. Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking at a player in that range. So, but when you're trading just a trade exception for something, you're getting someone else's garbage, or someone else's, I'd like to clear this contract off my books. It doesn't have to be garbage, but somebody else is looking for flexibility somewhere and is willing to give you something for close to nothing. Obviously, you got to roll something else into it, but nothing of great value. But it doesn't mean you're going to go get a star. And in fact, it's very unlikely. The only way you do is if you roll other actual assets in with it to make money match. The problem is the Celtics don't have any real assets because they're out of trade, they're out of draft.
Exactly.
And at this point, everybody they need. You're not trading Jaylen Brown.
They don't have tradable assets.
You don't have a tradable asset anymore. So you really only have this money to play with, and low draft and nothing else in the future, your own draft picks. And that's it.
So let me get this straight.
To acquire a player that's probably filler at this point. And that's what it gets you.
I can't believe it.
Exactly.
So here comes the John 180 again. All of a sudden you view Miles Turner as something other than garbage coming in that you can reform. I don't want to say garbage because I don't think he's a garbage player. He's a good player. But
no, I think he's better than anything you'll get with the trade exception for this reason.
Possibly. I mean, there's not a ton of options out there in terms of what you could get that would be worth using this. A few of them, Aaron Gordon, I think would be intriguing.
But look at the names. Larry Nance, Evan Fournier. Gordon is intriguing for
No, there's not a ton of great names.
Terrence Ross, Thaddeus Young, JJ Redick, Josh Hart, Trevor Ariza, George Hill, Patty Mills, Rudy Gay, Eric.
See, I think this is exactly.
let's
see right here. No, those like 4 or 5 names you just said. I think realistically, that's as good as it gets, guys. Unless Danny rolls the dice, which I strongly advise against this, rolls the dice and waits for the offseason, because then things could really pop up for the Celtics, or you end up with nothing, and the time goes and it,
but your
clock expires, and you lose that exception. You lose that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know what you roll the dice with.
Aaron Gordon's the guy to me. Orlando's in a bad spot. The East got tougher. They're going to be out of the playoffs this year. The team's getting
expensive.
Address
the wing position, please. So
who do the Celtics offer Orlando?
That's going to be another key to the start of the season, is starting to work in these young players that couldn't get worked in last year and trying to make something out of them. You're going to have Aaron Naismith coming in and getting an opportunity early. Ton of the players like Tremont Waters and these other guys are going to get time to play early this year. So that's another critical component to having Kemba early this year.
I'll ask you this. All of a sudden,
I don't hate the JJ idea either.
You have future picks too.
All of a sudden, Naismith is lighting it up to start the year. I can guarantee you there won't be one Celtics fan who will want to trade him for Aaron Gordon if that's the case. If you end up with the tradable asset, find me on that list somebody that you want to actually trade.
Exactly.
Oh, no, you're selling immediately, Jimmy. In your hypothetical, you're selling immediately. And I think Danny would do that.
For who? You're going to give up
I don't
on a
know,
guy like
but
Aaron.
Would you get
I thought the point you're trying to say is don't hold on to these guys.
All of a sudden, Naismith starts shooting like Klay
This is
Thompson,
such a reversal of what you guys were saying last segment.
What do
How
you
is
mean?
it a reversal?
Because you're saying Miles Turner comes in here and he's a whole new player. You're saying Aaron Gordon can't come in and become a high-level, maybe even all-star level player in the Stevens system? Like, it's the same exact conversation.
No, I'm saying
these great
Jalen
players.
and Jason Tatum, though?
I'm saying they can't get him. They can't
Bobby,
get him.
Bobby, you didn't have to trade anyone to
Jimmy's
get Miles
point
Turner.
is,
Yeah,
Jimmy's point
I'm
is
saying that. I agree with that, but I don't think that's what John and Jimmy are saying.
No, what Jimmy is saying makes perfect sense. So again, in order to get somebody,
that's clear. That's
you're going to need someone like Naismith or maybe Romeo when he comes back from injury.
And you do it. What we say all last year.
If those guys show value, you don't want to trade them anymore because they're cheap and they're yours. So now you don't want to fold them in.
Them.
So if they show value to be traded, then you don't want to trade them anymore, which means you don't actually have assets.
I disagree.
No, I think you sell. I think you do have assets.
Joe Sway's so right here.
I think you sell because, like I said from the top, they're going for it right now, Joe.
Not for Gordon.
Gordon's an excellent player.
Not for Gordon. What?
That's what I mean.
That's one example.
Talking about the players on that list.
You can't even get Gordon without throwing in somebody else in here. You're not just getting him for dead money.
Oh, so now you're just protecting.
Yeah, but I don't know, John. If Naismith goes off, you don't think that they would make that trade?
I'm saying if he goes off, you're going to be like, thank God we hit with a rookie, and they're going to keep him and hold him and cherish him and be like, thank God. You're never going to.
We got one.
We got one. Imagine.
No, I'm not on that boat. I sell. You sell.
Let's pretend they had Tyler Hero. Would they trade him for friggin' Aaron Gordon?
It's a different conversation. Hero's looking like an all-star player.
To the point where you're like, we got something.
All right,
here.
so there's somewhere in between
trading him.
There's somewhere in between Romeo Langford's last season and what Tyler Hero did last year. Like those are two extremes.
If they flash and show that, you're never going to trade them for something that's like kind of somebody else's used leftovers. You're not doing that. You're going to be thrilled that you have somebody available, cheap here.
In that example, it would have to happen in the offseason. It would have to be somebody that we're not even talking about right now.
I know, but that's the thing. It's so risky, Jimmy. But at the same time, though, it's not that risky because this is a full calendar year later, right? So we're not talking about July and
you get the
August
entire
when this thing expires.
Yeah,
it'll expire at the end of the summer or even in the fall. So Danny will have himself some time, but you know he's going to get that uneasy feeling, and you know that's going to work against him. Teams, possible suitors are going to say this guy has to make this happen. So why should we make a move?
Danny's not going to make a move for the hub. He's not going to feel pressure. He's already told you essentially what happened, right? That Gordon Hayward wanted to go to Charlotte, and there wasn't really anything that they could do about it. So he's in his mind, it's great that they got an exception, and if they use it, even better. But he's not going to use it just for the sake of using it. We know that. And exceptions, I hate to say it, many of them have expired over the course of trade exceptions being around. So I mean, I really hate to break it to Celtics fans who think that Larry Bird's walking through that door, but there's a good.
I would love Aaron Gordon. If Aaron Gordon is given away for just the trade exception and a pick,
this is unreal.
That's a different story. But if you have to roll in assets to make something like that work, I don't know that works for you unless you're talking about a player we haven't even considered yet.
Exactly. That's why it will be if he doesn't use it for like depth, at the deadline or whatever, if they're trying to make a run like you think they might be able to, Josue, maybe use it for that reason. But if not, he's going to hold on to it for the offseason and see what team emerges that is looking to, rebuild or something of that nature.
Well, that's where they'd be anyway.
You guys really hate Rudy Gay, though?
No, somebody mentioned in the chat, Buddy Hield. He's too expensive.
Yeah, he's at what, 23 or something?
He's a hefty price tag. I'm not even sure you want him at that price. Yeah,
you already have your Buddy Hield. You have your Buddy Hield, right? And
the reason why stop it, Jimmy, don't do that. The reason why people are saying that is because Sacramento has to do something. They got a log jam there, not just on the court, but on the book.
That's why
Buddy Hield's being mentioned.
John's in the top left here, waving the Romeo Langford flag. Jimmy's down there with Aaron Naismith. That's unreal. You guys bash the young
how many times are going to explain the same thing?
I thought Jimmy was being facetious.
I
know they are.
If those guys show value to the Celtics,
then you trade them.
They will not trade them for one of the guys we mentioned.
Yeah,
they may trade them for somebody we haven't talked about yet. But if they show value here, you're never going to just throw them in as filler in a deal for one of the people we mentioned to come in as depth.
First guy. Yeah,
you're never
looking at one of these washed. Get one of these washed. Corners, one of these wings that can come in and help the bench, because that's what the Celtics need. They need to address that wing position. They need someone, a veteran, an established player.
I'm saying
not Javante or Shemi. No disrespect to those two guys, but they need a more established guy in this league. Someone coming off the bench.
If there's someone you really want that's going to require a package like that, you do it. There'll certainly be other options here. I've kept my eye on.
I don't think Rudy would require giving up a first-round pick that you just drafted. I don't think.
Eric Gordon.
Stop talking about Rudy Gay.
Eric Gordon would have.
I'm sorry, man, but we got here, Jimmy. Like realistically, teams are going to give you. Teams are going to give you. Oh, here's our best shooter that we've had the last couple of years.
No kidding. I know that.
No, that's the thing is everybody has warts. Much like again, Miles Turner has warts.
JJ Redick. Are you kidding me? On this team, I'd love it.
Yeah, sure. And that's another option. You could bring in multiple players, and that's what we started off talking this about. Use that to absorb multiple salaries from a team if it comes to that.
Danny was talking about like he had 4 players in mind. It seemed like.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. But where we're at now, and whether they did the Indiana trade, or this, the better spot that they're in this year is they can match salaries in a trade now. Last year, they couldn't do any trade that they could imagine because they didn't have the salaries to do it. Now you have as much as $30 million to match, so you're in a better place inherently, no matter what assets you think you have, because you can actually mathematically do any trade that you want to, which is good. Now you might not think you have the stuff to get it done, but at least you can do it if you get to that place.
Okay, let's. I got to pay some bills here. We got to do the long read. We got to let the folks at home know about our sponsor for this season. Yep, our sponsor. They're here with us. We could be here all season long. Manscaped.
Well, we gotta sell some, and then they'll re-up. So everyone, listen up.
We're doing our best.
Stuff those stockings, kids.
That's right.
Christmas is coming, guys. So, yeah, Christmas is coming. Here to remind you, take your biggest grooming and hygiene needs from head to toe with the all-in-one Manscaped Performance Package Kit. Okay, so for your most aggressive hair below the waist, Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer is a must. Manscaped goes one step further. Released the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. They've got the Performance Package, which includes the Crop Preserver, which is deodorant for for foot powder, the foot duster. If you want to smell good everywhere, there's Manscaped cologne. On top of that, there's a shed travel bag where you carry all of your goods. Anti-chafing boxer briefs that hold the entire package together. And all you really need to do to get this going is go to manscaped.com and enter the code GARDEN20. What's up, Jimmy?
Sorry, I'm listening.
Enter the code GARDEN20.
What do you got, Jimmy? You got a funny text or something? What happened?
No, he's just crushing the read, man.
You get 20% off and free shipping with the code GARDEN20 at manscaped.com. Once again, manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. Use the code GARDEN20. Guys, you want to put a bow on this trade exception conversation before we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you got? So, again, dream scenario. Of all of the players who have been mentioned out there, and again, whether it's now or mid-season, pick a player or need.
Or don't
You
just
watch
Joe
Joe
Sway. Joe Sway
leave.
just ran away.
Gone.
He was like,
I'm-
I'm out.
I'm sticking with Gordon, and I explained it already. The situation in Orlando, the fit. He's sort of a Fort style player.
I like the athleticism too, as well, for sure.
And they asked Andy about building.
He'll play 4 here.
Yeah, and he's still a wing. So you have the 3 wings, and you keep that thing going that you want to do here. And again, untapped potential there. He's played on a team his whole career that's just defense, defense, defense. You unlock some of his offense here playing with other players. He's on a bigger deal. It's not a Buddy Hield-like deal, but you'd be picking up enough salary so you're going into the tax getting him. But I think he's someone you could reasonably say completes this core with the other 2
I
wings
like
there.
him too, but if you're going into the tax, do you prefer him or Hield?
Him. More versatile, more room for growth. I think he'll.
You talking about Barnes?
Gordon.
The other Gordon, not
Aaron,
Gordon Hayward.
Aaron, not Eric.
I'm taking Hield.
You like the shooter?
Yeah, I
Too
like the shooter.
expensive, not enough, and not enough upside there. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't have his price tag. I'm with you on that. But for what this team needs and what he could bring, yeah, I think that would be ideal.
I think he plugs in where Hayward left too, and he's cheaper. There's upside there. He's had a little bit of an injury history, which is concerning, but again, you get what you get with this.
Are there any other big names in that tier, Bob?
That's kind of where we're at when you're looking at the money available. Gordon's right at that number. I don't think you're going into the tax. He's 18-1 with 2 years remaining. Okay.
And
So
it's going down, which is good too.
That's not terrible. It's just a matter of whether or not you need. I think the price here is very high. He's by far. You'd be talking about multiple first-round picks or other players on your team to get this deal done. It's not just for money. It's not a salary dump. So it then comes down to, again, the thing we were talking about with Jimmy is he's the best name in a vacuum, but to get him, you have to give something of value. And in order for that thing to have value, they have to show value for you first. So again, it's either Naismith comes in and lights it up and you're like, we got something, or it's Romeo on a bounce back and he starts looking good, which again, there might not be enough time for that to happen this year with
Not
him.
this year.
But and multiple picks. That Gordon is not cheap. The money makes it work, but you have to give real things to get him.
The thing you can consider with Orlando too, though, is they have some bad contracts there too that they could try to get off their books, and that's what we think about when we think of this exception. You can absorb a lot of money. So let's say it's 18 for Gordon. You could take a Ross possibly in this deal. You could take a Mo Bamba, guys that they just don't want to pay, that they don't want to have on their roster anymore. Because let's look at the East. Where's Orlando fitting in this conference for years to come? They're not. Teams are getting better. Charlotte got better. You have Detroit on the come up somewhat. You Cleveland, like all these teams are just shooting ahead of them, it feels like. So you hope that they get in that desperate situation this year where they just want to offload money and start over and maybe tank for this next draft coming up.
Cool.
All right.
What else?
Well, we're moving on.
It's not if you're waiting for something bigger, you're waiting for next offseason. And Joe Sway already explained that's a big risk.
The biggest prize that fits within what they're talking about, like I said, is Gordon, which they can afford. But again, that's going to cost them assets, a lot of stuff that they might not even have it right now. They only have it if these guys play well. We keep saying it, but right now, I don't know how you even get that done just for the money. So you're looking at that second tier depth of guys who might come in off of your bench and provide second unit offense here, a little bit of wing depth, wherever it is you need, but not a game changing sort of talent here. Again, not unless you roll the dice into the offseason and something changes, where this is again, where if your rookies, or if some of your younger players in year 2 or the rookies show serious value, you may be able to roll them up into something bigger that we haven't talked about yet. But right now, the list is very uninspiring, which again, I'm going to keep coming back to, Turner.
Please don't.
Yeah, it is what it is. It could turn into, at the end of the day, I think the Celtics fans who are like, we got the trade exception. I don't know if that's going to get you anything that
Imagine if this ends with a trade for Miles Turner.
Wouldn't that be funny?
That would be amazing. And I would say, suck it to all the Celtics fans who just said how bad he was, because now they're going to be singing his praise.
Oh my God, they'd be like, we got Turner. He's going to be so good under Brad.
And he did it again. He got him anyways. Would
it be stunning? It wouldn't be stunning, would it?
No, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
It's a real possibility.
100% what would happen.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's funny nobody's mentioning it. And Jimmy, I love that. Celtics fans will be bashing him all this time as soon as he comes here. Like, oh, this guy's great. Just what we need. Anyway.
Bobby, there's no way to get him for the same reasons. There's no way they can use their exception for anybody else that's available.
No
they don't
assets.
have anything of value to get Turner.
Unless Indiana desperately is like, I do not want to pay this guy. And I want the trade exception. And it's just a freaking hot potato you just keep passing around.
Right.
But
don't sleep on Indy. I'm telling you, they have a stacked starting lineup. I mean, their depth is, without looking at it, probably cheaper than the Celtics.
They're an extremely cheap team.
Let's get into a couple little things today. We found out the Celtics opened the season December 23rd versus the Bucks in Milwaukee. Not a ton of fun to talk about. What is fun to talk about is Kyrie Irving. Christmas Day, TD Garden, no fans.
The Grinch himself comes to Boston on Christmas
Kyrie
Day.
gets his wish. He gets to come back here to no fans. But he
will play in this game. He will play in this game.
Oh, 100%.
But he'll
play in the preseason game in a couple of weeks.
We've been fantasizing dream scenarios of what we want to see happen to Kyrie in this game. So let's just share some of these here. How do you think that this thing goes? Like, is this the game that Kyrie scores 75 points and the Nets win by 100? And it's like, no.
There's no chance that Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown are going to let Kyrie Irving do that to them. I mean, if they do, shame on them, because after what he did to them, pretty much, everything but just spit in their faces, essentially, basically told them they were trash, wrote them off, like talked down to them, talked to the media basically about them to their, while they're sitting in the freaking chair in the locker room. Like, I mean, the whole saga with Kyrie here was so embarrassing that if you're Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and those guys, you have so much pride where you that is a game that you just cannot wait. You're not going to sleep much on Christmas. It's not because you're thinking about Santa Claus coming that night. You're thinking about showing up and just giving everything you have to just shut Kyrie Irving down. And if Jaylen Brown doesn't dunk all over Kyrie Irving on Christmas Day, then Christmas is ruined.
Kyrie's gonna get Jaylen Brown up in the air so many times.
He's gonna ask Brad to guard him one-on-one.
4 fouls in the first 2 minutes, trying to friggin'
Jaylen's gonna have to cover
the 3-pointer into the rafters. He's gonna Jaylen can't stay on his feet. Kyrie is just gonna friggin' have him on a string.
Hey, let's remember that Kyrie is the second best player on that team. Kevin Durant is back, and
Kyrie that.
it's just certain. If Kevin,
though.
So I've been with that, Joe Sway. I'm
at least the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm skeptical of what he's going to look like at first coming back, especially on the defensive end. This was an all-world defender before he went down with that injury. So if they're going to use him at center and stuff like that, I'll be interested to see how this goes. But offensively, everything you hear about who he's been working out with in the offseason and all that stuff is that he's as good as ever. He's been lights out. So this guy's going to be a problem. And Brown,
you know what else
Brown's
happens
going to have to be on him.
You know what else happens in the offseason? Ben Simmons hits a bunch of threes and we all freak out, okay? I don't give a crap about offseason workouts, okay? That doesn't mean anything.
Hey, I'm just saying There's more
Achilles,
going on
Thomas
here
looking
than
pretty
Kyrie.
good.
Achilles
Looking
is
pretty good, John.
absolute killer injury for basketball players.
So this team, all right. So say Durant's out of the fold and not himself, has a whole year, like a 19 Hayward year. This team's useless. I mean, they've been a 7 or 8 seed for all those years with the scrappy young guys. Kyrie has never proven to move the needle much on his team above like a 4 or 5 seed.
This is going to be the most fun team to root for. I mean, root against.
So yeah, this team is dictated by Kevin Durant.
Now
This is going to be the biggest dumpster fire.
Is there a more unlikable? Maybe I'm biased here, but is there a more unlikable 1-2 combination in the NBA than
right now?
And Kyrie?
I mean, after
Westbrook just got traded.
Westbrook just got traded. Yeah, exactly.
The two thinnest skinned guys in the universe. Actually, Westbrook falls in there too.
I know people don't like LeBron just because they're jealous.
No, LeBron's the best.
Yeah, LeBron's the best. And then AD's just AD. Like, there's not really much to hate. I mean, you can hate that he went to LA, but in terms of personality, like Kyrie and Durant have to be far and away the most like annoying 1-2 combination.
They're different cases to me if we think about what they've done in the league. Durant brought his team to the finals in 2012, put on historic performances
Not
in
about
17.
He's just a thin-skinned friggin' whiner.
I'm not knocking their skill.
I mean, let's be honest, Bobby. He went over there with the Warriors, got 2 championships, and I still don't think they like the dude.
Kevin Durant's
probably
for sure. I'm saying he moves the needle though.
He definitely moves the needle, but I don't know.
He sucks as a human. Yeah,
I don't know what he's gonna look like on the floor. And if you're the Celtics, and if you're Jalen, and of course you have that. You have to keep that energy, not only because you're playing against Kyrie Irving, but also because of this is a message to the entire Eastern Conference. You know, I see teams or websites rather ranking the Brooklyn Nets above the Celtics already. The team that just finished in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat already is below the Brooklyn Nets, even before the Kemba news and all that stuff. So if you're the Celtics, you need to take that personal. If you're Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, this is your team now. Those two have to take the mantle and send a message to the rest of the league. I want these two guys averaging no less than 50 points that first week of the season. Are you kidding me? They better.
Let's make no mistake though.
Dead even in odds before the Hayward thing. Dead even.
Let's make no mistake, Josue, though, and I think you'll agree with this. If Durant is right, they're the team to beat in the East.
If he's right, I agree with that. But the big if though is can those two coexist?
Dude,
how does Steve Nash play a part in all this thing? Because to me, it's gonna get cloudy before it actually things.
Hey, Durant made the finals with Westbrook. Durant made the finals playing alongside Curry. If he's Durant, he'll make the finals with Kyrie. So that's the big question. I don't care about what Kyrie's doing, this or that. If it's his team, they're not going to do well. We've just seen it in the past. The best he's done is the 4 seed with the Celtics.
I don't know if they have enough, though, man. Golden State, it's one of the greatest teams of all time that he joined, I don't know.
If you don't think there's going to be...
Go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
I think the Nets. I think the Nets will give the Celtics a problem, but overall, I don't know if Durant's himself.
There's going to be serious growing pains in his Nets team because Kyrie hasn't shown me anything about being a leader yet in the NBA.
He was the first option last year.
The Nets don't even want Kyrie. Kyrie is there because of
Durant.
Because he came with Durant. If they had their way, they'd swap out Kyrie for a different person if they could. They might have to. It was a package deal.
You guys remember that awkward week and a half where it was reported that maybe Durant wasn't going to go? All of a sudden, Brooklyn's considering trading Kyrie. It was like a week long. Wait a minute. Whoa, we didn't sign up for this. Yeah. Where's Kevin? What are you talking about?
That was it. Yeah.
I can't wait for it to all unfold because it's going to be something. And I'll say this.
It's the best soap opera in sports, guys. The NBA.
I think it's so simple. It's going to come down to what happens on the court.
The NBA needs the New York Knicks to be great again. And if you're an NBA player and you're scared of playing in New York because you can't handle the pressure, then shame on you because Madison Square Garden is the best place in all of sports to play in the United States. Hockey or basketball, boxing, college basketball, whatever it is. So shame on you if you're an NBA player and you don't want to play for the Knicks because you're scared of the media or the fans.
The Nets had a better team.
Nets are trash, man.
The Knicks aren't trash. They've been the worst team in the league for a decade.
They are. They are. So be the guy.
Yeah, well, Jimmy's saying started from scratch.
They're
Be the
doing that
guy.
with the Nets. They
Step
just have a
up.
better supporting cast. That's what it came down to, I
The
think.
Nets, though, it's the freaking Brooklyn Nets. There's nothing to them. Like, there's
They've
no
been a
bones to that
playoff
organization.
team. They have a cast of
It's
playoff
not
players in
about
place.
that. It's not about that, Bobby. It's about the culture.
Now
Oh,
here's
no, guy, no,
So
Jimmy.
you-
It's about Kyrie wants to go back home. It's
So
about
you
him
guys-
crossing
Yeah,
the
he
Brooklyn
wants to go
Bridge.
back home.
He's going
Yeah,
back
yeah,
home.
yeah.
Like, oh,
Dude.
Jersey, I love Jersey so much. Like, come on, man.
you guys do have a point though. If that thing last year with Atkinson drove me up the wall because he was a
Oh,
good voice
man.
for that team. He built them up.
He turned
they
that
just-
franchise around.
Great
Yeah.
for them.
He
And
kicked
so
them
if-
out.
And so if they choose that team because of the pieces in place there and then they deconstruct it, as it seems like they want to do by getting rid of these great young players. I love those young players
That's
there
the
on that
thing.
team.
They're
That's
fun to
where it's
watch.
going to head south.
Day
That-
one of training camp, they're going to walk into the cafeteria. Kyrie's going to put his tray down next to KD, and he's going to point to everyone else at the table and be like, "You can't sit here. You can't sit here. You can't sit here." He's just a mean girl. Like it's.
He is.
Funny, John.
He
Funny,
did
it with us.
I feel like more or less he did that with Tatum. It was like, all right, you're my guy. Everyone else, I don't know
Everyone
about
else,
you.
I want
You guys are
nothing to do with
suspects.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want-
And
Hayward,
honestly,
get
like,
well soon, but all the cool kids, we're going to be over here. All right, guys. Like,
the Nets are so scared of Kyrie that they've literally hired like 4 different coaches because I think they want to I think Steve Nash is just trying to put as many guys in front of him as possible to take the fire before he's got Jacques Vaughn coaching defense. He's got Mike D'Antoni coaching offense. It's like these guys are all going to be in the front lines when Kyrie comes storming into the locker room. Steve Nash is going to be off to the side somewhere. I mean,
They have built
it's unbelievable.
They've built quite a cast of Kyrie control there. That's such a great point,
Unbelievable.
Jimmy.
I just
It's
can't wait
crazy.
for the shot of that timeout where he snatched the clipboard from Steve Nash and draws his own play. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. Maybe he might not snatch it away from him, but we're going to see that
He's
moment
already
where
told
everyone's
us
like,
he's gonna do
wow, Kyrie's a leader now. Look at him. He's drawing plays. He's vocal. And
Gonna
He
be one of
told
the weirdest
He told us
coaching
he's going to
staffs.
do it.
he did say that, actually. You're right.
He already said it. He actually said.
I'm
He's
going to
like,
be
"We don't
calling
even really
plays
need
here.
a coach. Oh.
I know.
Oh, yeah, we don't need a coach. That's right. Yeah.
He's like, we've got coaches here. Like sometimes we can coach. I'm like, oh, that's
Sometimes
not
I'll
how
be
it
a coach.
works,
Oh,
Kyrie.
man.
Hey, it
Yeah.
is clear if Durant's not right, this is gonna crash and burn. There will be no better than the 6th seed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll
I
be
feel
fun.
Like what Kyrie's doing right now, I feel like this is like the future of the NBA, but in a bad way. Like how much control players are gonna have. Like it'll be next level. And I
Hey,
feel
look
like he,
what's happened with the Clippers.
epitomizes that.
Whatever
The Clip-
happened to Harden about to go there? That seemed to look a massive momentum, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Kyrie,
Preposterous
Kyrie-
idea.
Kyrie was like,
he deaded that real quick.
Kyrie's like, I will take Kevin Durant and I will leave here today.
So these
I
games
will-
matter.
I will take my
Kevin
ball.
Durant in the back. Kyrie, who are you talking to? No one, man. No one.
Okay,
No
I'm
one.
going to tape up Kevin Durant and I'm going to throw him in my truck and we're out of here.
Don't
How much
mess with
stock
me.
How much stock can we even put into these first 2 games? These are the only 2 games we know of, right? On the schedule. I mean, you're not gonna.
Yeah,
have
they're gonna
Kemba.
release. We'll probably
Not
know
gonna
the
have
first half of
Romeo,
the schedule
so-
tomorrow.
Yeah, I
next
feel like
few
it'll be like
days.
an unofficial preseason that first week, at least.
Yeah, I mean,
You know
wins
what
and
I
losses
hate?
almost don't even matter.
I get Christmas being marquee matchups. That's fine. I hate throwing away a good matchup like Milwaukee on
Me
night
too.
1. Like Major Baseball does this all the time. They put Sox Yankees in April. Don't do that. You have enough juice when the season starts to watch anything. Save good matchups for later in the season, mid-season, and build them up a little bit. I hate throwing away a Boston Milwaukee earlier in the year.
Yeah,
I-
and
yeah.
Boston, Brooklyn.
This is the
I mean,
third
yeah,
year in a
it's
row
not
they've done
good,
this,
but-
Johnny. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, I
There's
hate
always
that.
Milwaukee. The first 3 games, they're always either they go to Milwaukee or they come here.
Save it. Do the other ones. But I can't wait to see when the Charlotte game is. That'll be fun. Because
Oh, here's a question. Knowing what you know now about Gordon Hayward and him choosing to go to Charlotte, is it more suitable to boo him? I think it was Bobby who said you can't boo him. But
I
now
didn't
you
say
just
that.
know. Now,
there's nobody to
somebody
boo.
said you shouldn't boo him. Maybe it was Joe Sway. It was one of you.
It was
two
me.
were like,
Yeah, it was me.
I mean, okay, knowing what you know now, I mean, he didn't want to play in Boston anymore. He didn't like it here. He didn't want to be 5th wheel or whatever you want to call it. And he screwed. He said, "Screw you guys, I'm out." So you can't boo him.
He's gonna
So,
get booed. Hey,
I don't think he get booed, but as a man, born and raised in this culture, he's getting booed. Yeah, no question. And everything he said the last couple of days, that's only made it worse. So yeah, he's gonna get booed.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We've been doing this a bit. Bobby, you got a final thought?
I guess if no one's in there, it'll be up to us. And we're 2-1. Joe Sway's not booing. Me and Jimmy are gonna be in there like boo.
I'm not gonna be booing
Oh,
him, but if
man.
you're a fan, go for it. Like,
I'm just kidding.
Like I said, I'm not a boo, not boo guy. All I'm saying is they have
You boo in spirit.
they have 1,000% right to boo him. So
yeah,
no worries
keep
there.
it
Once
in
again,
line, keep it in balance.
shout out to the sponsor one last time. 20% off free shipping with the code Garden20 at manscaped.com. That's our sponsor, Manscaped. Go get some. Go get yourself a lawnmower, a weed whacker, a crop.
3.0. This thing is
3.0.
legit, guys.
And
Yeah.
do it right now. Don't wait until a week before Christmas because
Yes.
what I'm
That shipping
hearing-
takes a while. Yeah.
What I'm
Let
hearing
that
is-
get
Wow,
in there.
these things are freaking in demand. Okay.
Yep.
So get some, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love these. We love doing these. We love you telling us that we're terrible, and that we're dumb, or that every once in a while we make a good point. Bobby has a lot of fans.
They love me.
Across
Lots
the
of good
border.
reviews.
They like Bobby. But it's fun doing these conversations. We're going to do them all year long. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you get notified the second we go live. Every Wednesday at 8, anytime there's real news, breaking news, and then throughout the season, we'll be doing post-game shows, a whole bunch of stuff. So can you guys get sponsored by the cheese shop Robin went to? Yeah, we're going to try. I was actually thinking, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie, Benjamin. I actually thought of doing a show live from outside the cheese shop. It's just really cold.
Oh, man.
I literally, no joke, Bobby, I almost went to the cheese shop to do the
I was gonna say, did you ride your bike down there?
If there was no pandemic, I'm in. I'm down.
I'm one to Brazil loves Bobby. We just found out. Holy wow.
Woo!
Wow,
Oi,
international.
tudo bem.
I know
There's a-
Spanish.
there's a-
No,
there's
no
a-
I
Portuguese.
went there to just sit a chair and a table down with my Wi-Fi, my hotspot, and just broadcast from the cheese shop. It's not
Let's
too far
broadcast from Brazil. How about that?
Crust cheese.
Yeah,
I'm down. Shoot, I'm down.
yeah. So that's it
anything
again.
that's gonna be. Hey, Brazil sounds nice right now because it's getting chilly out there. I got this Legend hoodie on. Trying to stay warm.
It
It's
might be
awful
the only place
outside.
where the coronavirus is worse, though.
No.
So it might be a tough spot. I don't know. I haven't checked the numbers in a while, but everybody.
In an hour.
So again, thank you everybody. Josue Pavone, heavy.com, Jimmy Toscano, Bobby Manning, CLNS Media, and Celtics.
Subscribe, guys. Subscribe.
We got games in 2 weeks. Can't wait.
Right. I mean, it's only gonna get it's gonna get hot and heavy here.
Gonna get crazy, G.
It's gonna get crazy. We'll have some preseason action. We'll get to see at least
You got to turn this way.
Yeah, we'll see Naismith a little bit. That'll be something.
no,
Grant
this way.
2.0. It's been a really short layoff. They're not going to look a lot different than they looked when we saw them last. So this is what we got. But we will see you guys at the latest next week, if not sooner.